Okay, well, welcome. And I'm looking forward to today. It's always great seeing some of the names that I recognize, and some of you that I don't know. So that's great. Well, welcome. I'm hoping that we're going to get a lot of participation. I've been thinking about this. It's at least been a couple weeks since we did our last webinar. I didn't want this to be the same thing of what we did on the other one. And I've been thinking a lot about what we might talk about today and what would make a difference here for you. It's important that you understand the risks that are associated with trading futures. You can go read the risk disclosure, daytradelikeapro.com. It's on the bottom of every page on the website. Make sure you understand the risks that are involved with trading futures, okay? So with that, we'll move forward, and moving forward is an acknowledgement that you understand the risks and that you've read the risks in the disclosures. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the three pillars for mastery and what I think is really the foundation for successful trading. And I mean, talk about it like I know there's one of me and a bunch of you. So here's the question. When you look at your trading, what is it that you're really working towards? You don't have to answer that for us or for me, but you do want to answer that for you. So one of the things that I'm going to ask you today in our time together that you will engage in some critical thinking. I want you to start to rethink some of the way that you approach the market and what it is that you're doing and not doing and what outcomes that you're trying to produce. So the beginning of this year, we're going to talk about, it's really going to be, if you are not willing to use some critical thinking and reassess your approach, then this is not going to probably be the webinar for you. But if you are willing to do that, then this could turn out to be really great for you. That said, what's your current routine in the market? Now, don't answer this for me. You can go back and you can answer it for yourself. But I just kind of want you to get a sense of like, okay, so what is my routine like? And my suggestion would be go back and watch the recording and actually pause this and take the time to write these down. And what results are you hoping that routine that you have in the market, what results are you hoping it will produce for you? My other question is, who told you it would work? This question, what results are you hoping it will produce? We surveyed like 4,500 traders, and pretty much every single one of them said something about they're trying to get to being consistently profitable. And I have thought so much about that over years, and particularly given it a lot of thought over the last couple of weeks. And I've had some really great conversations with some really good traders that I know. And I want to share a little bit of that here with you today, given what time we have to dive into some of that. I'm assuming that you have some version of that you want to get to being consistently profitable, or if you are consistently profitable already, you want to increase that. You are looking for the next level of that consistency and profitability. And then I asked the question, who told you it would work? Now, I'm asking that as a real question, is that where did you come up with the idea that what your current approach is and the results that you're wanting to produce, who told you it would work? Now, I'm asking that like if I was a personal trainer and you came to me and you said, well, look, right now I weigh 180 pounds. What I want to do is put on 50 pounds of muscle. And I say, okay, and so what are you doing right now to do that? And if you say, well, I run on the treadmill for 2 hours a day and I eat 1,000 calories. Okay, well, that's not going to work. Who told you that would work? The truth is that for the 15 years that I've been doing this, most of what I've heard from traders is the equivalent of something like that, except it's probably more like they walk for 3 hours a day or 5 minutes a day, insert whichever ridiculous answer, and eat a bunch of junk food. Well, that's not going to do it. That's not going to help you gain 50 pounds of muscle. There's an actual approach that would work that you could put on 50 pounds of muscle. It's going to take time and hard work and commitment, and it's not going to be walking. Certainly won't be eating junk food. That's not going to get you there. I'm asking you to kind of look at, is what you're doing right now sort of the equivalent of walking 5 minutes a day and eating 1,000 calories a day of junk food? And I don't care if it is, and I don't care if it isn't. I just want you to know. At the end of the webinar here, when we leave and I close my computer and you walk away from yours or whatever, and we're done here, my goal is that it will have made a difference for you in the way that you approach your trading. It's not going to make a difference for me. Now, I'm not saying that to you to be, that's not me being a jerk. I'm just saying I made money today. I made money yesterday. I've made money last week and the week before that and the week before that and the week before that. And I could go on the weeks before that. For me, I'm not doing this in the hope that I'm going to get better at trading. Although the irony of it is that when I teach something like this, I tend to get better at what I'm teaching. It's really, I'm asking you the question, is what you're doing in the market the equivalent or some version of walking 5 minutes a day and eating junk food thinking you're going to put on 50 pounds of muscle? And so I'm really asking you, who told you that would work? Probably not a guy that weighs 240 pounds and is all muscle and works out for 2 hours a day in the gym. That's probably not the guy that told you that. You're going to have to do your own soul searching with this. But really, the question is, what are you doing? What results do you want it to produce? And who told you it would work? And then I would ask you, how's that working so far? Right now, how is it working if you're really honest about it? Are you killing it? Are you kicking ass? Or is there room to improve and get better? Really, lastly, is that are you willing to reconsider your approach? And if you're not willing to reconsider your approach, thank you for being here. And I don't think there's anything here for you for the rest of the webinar. I think it'd be silly if you stayed if you're not willing to reconsider. Now, I'm assuming that you're willing to reconsider your approach, given that you blocked out the time today and you're here right now. So let's reconsider your approach. Let's take a look at it. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I want to look at this with you and let's see what we can come up with together. So here's a real question. Are you doomed to fail? I mean, is there anybody here, honestly, if you're willing to be honest about it, is there anybody here that sometimes you think, how many traders do you know that have been consistently profitable for 10, 15, 20, 30 years? Really, how many? Yeah, Carl says he knows very few. I know a bunch, and I'd say I know almost none. I don't know that. I don't know that many, and I know a pretty decent amount of traders who are pretty successful and have been for a while. It's also this weird thing is that, nobody really wants to go like, well, here, come look at my account and see all my trades. And most people don't want to do that. It's a bit personal. I mean, trading's a really personal journey. The question is then, are you really doomed to fail? Do you ever have the thought like, well, how many people really do this? I had a guy that I knew, I wouldn't call him a friend because friends don't say these kinds of things to each other, in my opinion, but a guy that I knew, and he said, oh, no one ever makes money in the long run in trading. He said, how many rich poker players do you know? Do you really believe, I'm asking you, do you really believe that you are one of the people, the small percentage of people who make it? 95% of traders are going to fail really early on. Do you believe that you have whatever that is that gets those 5% into the 5%? What's the difference between the 95% and the 5%? And that's what we want to look at. That's what we want to spend some time with today. And do you actually believe that you are one of the people that can be in the 5%? And if you don't, you're going to have to do some work around that. You've got to know that you're one of those people that's in the 5% and not in the 95%. And even being in the 5% won't really even cut it in the long run. You really got to be probably in the top 1 or 2% in the long run. Here's the reality. What most traders are doing will not lead to being consistently profitable. It's a lot of running around in circles and spinning their wheels and wasting their time. And most traders will quit before they ever have any real success. That's just the reality of it. That's why 95% of traders quit or lose their money, or I think the statistic is like 90% of traders either lose their money or quit within 90 days. So maybe you've made it beyond that. Here's the question that I have is that what makes the difference? Now, this is the part where where it gets interactive. The question I have is what makes the difference? What's the difference between the 95% and the 5%? And I really want to know from you, what is it that makes that difference in your opinion? So let's hear from you. We can take a minute, okay? So mindset, put in the effort and don't give up. Lots of people, though, put in the effort and don't give up and never make it. Okay, so they have a good indicator of when to buy or sell. That's what Shane says. It's funny, Shane, because and Shane and I know each other real well. It's funny, Shane, because in some way that's actually true, but their indicator is probably not an indicator that's widely available. So, for example, one of the things that John, who goes by Kuba in the Discord, one of the things that he said early on when he came around and started working with us and coaching and teaching is, and Shane, I think this might have been a conversation that you had with John where he said you need something that tells you to get into the market, some kind of a trigger that says get into the market, or some kind of a trigger that tells you when to get out of the market. Otherwise, you're just sort of guessing of when should I get in or when should I get out. It's one of the great things about what Kuba has done with his system is create something that's duplicatable where, this is an entry or that's, and, there's really only two ways that he enters a trade. And he knows what those triggers are.
Discipline to follow a proven system, mentorship on a proven strategy, listening to someone who has made it.
Okay. So in one way, I recorded a video earlier this week, last night, and I was talking about golf, and I was talking about the analogy of in a golf swing, if you can do the same mechanics the same way every time, when you strike the ball, it goes the way you want it to. You have control over when you hit the ball. If you can do the same mechanics leading up to the point of hitting the ball and swinging through it, you can consistently hit the ball in the same way each time and in the same direction or straight or whatever. If I want to get really good at golf and I go to my golf coach and I say, hey, help me get better at doing this, like I hit the ball right or I hit the ball left or I don't hit it high enough or long enough or whatever, there's a really simple thing. They're going to record me, put it up on the screen and say, see how you do this with your hands, do that thing with your hands instead. Now, getting myself to do that, that's completely different. Now, I want you to think about something. Golf, in my opinion, is probably the hardest sport in the world that I've ever played. And being able to effectively do the thing that they're saying that your coach is trying to get you to do or that you're trying to do is really, really difficult. Understanding what to do, that's one thing. Getting yourself to be able to physically do it, that's another thing. Think of how many professional golfers are there on the tour? Like 300? Think of how few that is. Think of all of the guys and gals that play golf in college and think of how few actually make it. And pretty much any of them know exactly what to do. It's just, can they execute on it? Now you think about trading and how much of trading is actually anything to do with something physical. It's not like you need better techniques on how to click the mouse. There's really not any much of a physical part of it. So it really is mental. So the difference between sports and trading is sports is rooted in this physical and trading is rooted really in mental. Someone said discipline to follow a proven system. I like that. Steve, I have a question then for you about the discipline of, and you can answer or not. It'd be great if you answer, but you might not have an answer. I don't know. So someone said, oh, this is great. So hold that thought. I'm going to read this one actually to you. So someone said method with positive expectancy or edge and the belief in it to execute flawlessly. So I'll tell you right now, I know plenty of consistently profitable traders who don't execute their system flawlessly. I know one of them really, really intimately, really well. Like he's sitting in my chair right now. You don't have to execute flawlessly. This is interesting. Some of what I'm going to say today is not going to be popular. Some of you won't like it. That's okay. The ones that are ready to hear it, it'll be the right thing for you to hear. I want you to just look at how many theories you have about what the market is or what the market is like or what certain things take. This is a lot. So now I've got to develop the right amount of belief that I can execute so that I can execute on my system. When you get in your car and you drive your car down the road, belief doesn't make it run. You can believe in it or you cannot believe in it. That's not going to make any difference. When I get in my car and I press the start button, it starts, whether I believe in the car or I don't. When I push the gas, it goes, whether I believe in pushing the gas or I don't. So belief is probably real overrated. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on that. That's probably not the secret to being able to execute. So discipline to follow a proven system. The challenge with a proven system is the same thing I've said for years and years, is that a system, it's so personal. And what works for one person's personality does not work for another person's personality. So I would add to that a proven system that works with your personality or for your personality. And there are very different personality types and different strategies work for those people. So I'll use a good example. I mean, I think the simplest thing we have at Day Trade Like a Pro is probably the target trading system that Kuba runs. It's super straightforward. There's 5 levels. There's 2 entries, that this is an E1 or an E2. Those are the entries, and you know where your target is and what you're trading for. I've known John for a lot of years, and he's been able to be really successful following that system. So what's the difference between John and then the people who come in, sign up for the target trading system and aren't able to make it successful? What's the difference? Some of you aren't ready to hear. Okay, so Carl says it's the mental or emotional side of things. Experience. Experience plays a part in it, following the plan. Certainly, so could we say that John's ability to execute on his system, is that what makes the difference? No, James, he doesn't need to believe that the market will hit his targets. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that like, it doesn't matter. The market's going to go wherever it goes. You don't have to believe in it. There's something, though, that you are pointing at that's really great, that you're pointing at this thing of that there's something that has him hold to his targets. Now, you've made the assumption that it's belief, and I'm pushing back on that assumption. I'm saying maybe belief has nothing to do with it. It's not a personal thing or something. I just want you to reconsider what you think about it. It comes back to, so I was having this conversation actually with my coach. Some of you know that I work with the Rethink group. I was having this conversation with my coach earlier today, and we were talking about what makes the difference. And we asked this question: what do consistently profitable traders do that others don't? We've been talking about that. Now, the question is, can you duplicate that for yourself? These are really questions that I would have you go back and watch this again and pause it at that part. What do consistently traders do? And instead of guessing, you ought to just go ask some of them. And if you don't know where to find some of them, there's really great traders inside of our Discord channel, if you're there, that are more than willing to answer your questions. Find out what they do that you're not doing. Find out how you can duplicate that for yourself. And then I would ask you, what's the biggest edge that you can get? And my answer to that question is me. The difference between other traders, everybody has a system, a strategy, an approach, whatever. It comes back to, what's John's edge? What's Kuba's edge? His edge is that he can execute on his system. Well, why? Because it's him. He's the one executing. He's the edge. Yeah, his system works. He's the edge. That's the difference. So yeah, he has a strategy. That's only one of the pillars. It works because he executes on it. And why he's able to execute, that's a big conversation. Probably going to say this many, many more times over the coming years, but there are still so many traders that really deep down somewhere inside of them believe that there's a strategy that's just never going to let them down. They still think the Holy Grail is out there. It's not. I'm telling you, it'd be so much better if you can give up any thought like that. The Holy Grail is developing yourself and your own ability to, see an edge and execute on it. That's the closest thing to a Holy Grail that I've ever seen. Most traders, again, running in circles, never going to see success. The question is, what do you think is the answer for your next level, wherever you are? I know we have traders on here who are consistently profitable. We have some that maybe you've never been able to get to being consistently profitable. What's the next level for you? If you could just answer that question, and that was all you took away here from today, that would be great. Yeah, Shane's answer is great. Want nothing from the market. That sounds like we might have talked about that in a previous course. Someone said confidence is a big factor, but is it though? How confident do you have to be? If you're confident, so just go with me on the car analogy for a minute. You go sit down in your car. Does confidence make any difference on whether the thing starts or not? You sit in the car and you say you put the key in the ignition or you push the button to start it. Is any confidence required? Now, depending on what car you drive, you might be confident that it's going to start, or you might not have a lot of confidence that it's going to start. But does it actually make any difference on whether the car starts or not? I don't think so. Not in my experience. It hasn't made a difference yet for me. So let's say this. A lot of you have talked about confidence or belief, and I think you're mostly using those words interchangeably, meaning you believe or you have confidence that the market will go to a certain place, or that a certain target will get hit, or that a certain entry will work. I was talking with my coach earlier. Yeah, that's really great. Shane says it's going to start or not, and confidence isn't going to change the outcome. Yeah, then the market works the same way. So I was talking with my coach earlier, and I said trading is such a strange thing because really the secret to trading, if you can get really good at it, when you feel compelled to act, don't do anything. And when you're least compelled to act, can you be the most aggressive? So let me say that again. When you're compelled to act, don't do anything. And when you are the least compelled to act, can you get really aggressive? It's so counterintuitive to the way that we normally approach things. So think about it like this: the market's selling off really hard, really fast. There's a lot of selling happening. And what are you thinking? You're certainly not thinking that you have well, you could be thinking two things. You could have a really high level of confidence that this is the bottom and you're going to buy it, and you're probably wrong 9.5 out of 10 times. Or you could be thinking the trade I like when I buy the bottom is when I am thinking I have no idea if this is the bottom or if this thing's going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot here. What is so counterintuitive about trading is that you have to get in the trade and you're not at all confident in it. And then that's probably the right time to be more aggressive and put on more size. So when you're the least confident, can you trade the most size? And when you are the most confident, just don't do anything. If you have to trade, trade really, really small size. It's completely counterintuitive. That would revolutionize your trading, I think. Start paying attention to how compelled you are to do something in your trading. And then the more compelled you are, it's the more likely it is it's the wrong thing to do. That's been my experience. You'll have to find out for yourself if it's the same for you, but that's certainly been my experience. I have a bunch of slides here. Some of them are things that we covered last week. I didn't know what all we would get through or what we wouldn't get through. I also want to give you the opportunity to ask some questions, or if you have some thoughts, then go, or, I mean, so we'll pause for a minute and I'll just give you a chance to just, if you have some questions or how abouts or yeah buts or what ifs, then let's get those out there. So I'll give you just a moment to do that. If we don't get anything, then we'll move on. But I want to just pause here. David, anything you want to say or anything you want to point out? Anything I missed?
I have a question. So you talked
Right.
about when you feel most compelled to act, you talked about bringing your size down and when you're not sure, stepping your size up. In your experience, do you find that consistent across all the traders that you've worked with? Or do you see that vary based on the trader? So is that something the trader needs to discover for themselves, or is that a kind of like a general rule of thumb?
Yes. And I'll tell you why I say yes. Here's the thing: if you don't discover it for yourself, meaning if you don't find, think about this, if you don't know, and by the way, if you think about it like on a scale from 1 to 7, and then 1 would be like the least confident and 7 would be the most confident, it would
Mm-hmm.
be really useful to put words to each of those. So when you're the least confident, what are you? Mine is like panic. So when I'm in panic mode, right in the middle. Now, I'm not saying I want to trade. I don't want to do anything when I'm in panic mode. And then let's say on the other end would be like overconfident, as an example. So 1, least confident, is I'm panicked. 7 would be the most confident, and it would be I'm overconfident. I'm absolutely sure this is going to work. And what kinds of things do people do when they're sure that things are going to work? When they're absolutely positive that this trade's going to work, that it could, that, this is definitely the one. This is the top or this is the bottom, and it's definitely going to work. What do? Yeah, blow stops. Yeah, so they move their stop out of the way. They add into they load up more size. They average into trades. It's going against them. So, guys,
Break the
uh,
rules.
yeah, they break all their rules. Why? Because this is going to work. How do you know that? Because they're so confident it's going to work. And it's really funny, not really, but how quickly you can get from being a 7 to a 1.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that the cycle goes seven. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You don't usually work back down the scale, or if you do, it happens really, really fast. And it's not very hard to go from a 7 to a 1, which is usually what ends up happening. This is where somebody said it doesn't really seem to make any sense that you would trade when you're not confident. And the thing is, yeah, he says it doesn't make a lot of sense that, you'd trade when you're not confident. So, or you're uneasy about it. Yeah, trading doesn't make any sense. Really though. Don't take my word for it. Just look. So, David, to come full circle here, one, yes, you have to discover it for yourself. 1 through
Hmm.
7, write
Yep.
those down, have a name for them. And there's a ton of neuroscience that shows that naming it rather than having a number, really useful. 2, start to rate yourself before you put a trade on. Where are you on your scale from 1 to 7? And before you close the trade, where are you on a scale from 1 to 7? I have never seen it any other way than that your best trades happen when you're like a 3 or a 4. And if all you could do, if you could find a way to trade when you were a 3 or a 4, which was kind of like, I have no idea if this is going to work. So not panicked, but when you're like, I don't really know if this is going to work, but I'm going to do it anyway and just see, that's the best trades. And I've never seen it any other way than that. I'm not saying you couldn't be the first exception. I've just never seen it any way other than that. Don's not here right now. He's on a webinar with Denise, but he and I were talking about this. And I had him start tracking on a scale from 1 to 7. Where were you? And he comes back the next week and he's like, all the best trades are when I'm like a 3 or a 4. Yeah, that's how it is for every person I've ever talked to that's ever done it. So just starting to find that. But how counterintuitive is that? It's so easy to load up and put on a bunch of size and average in and move your stop when you just know it's going to work. And when you are going, I don't really know if this is going to work. I think it would make sense to try it. I bet those are your best trades. If you traded today, just look at your trading today or look at your trading this week. Not just David, everybody. Somebody said they did it today where they blew out, moved stops, and I don't know, blew out their account or whatever. Well, why would you do that? You'd only do that because you're compelled to do it. And you'd be compelled to do it because you're just so sure it's going to work. And how many times have you been so sure that it's going to work and then it actually works? I bet we could like count them up right now between all of us. It's just not that. The best trades, Denise said to me probably 4 years ago, Denise Scholl, who wrote Market Mind Games, said to me probably 4 years ago, she said, the best trades seem to have some kind of a, I think this is right, but it could totally not work, or it might not work at all. Like, sort of like, I'm afraid this isn't going to work, and I think it probably is going to work. So there's this uncertainty. And then that's the time when you want to be more aggressive versus, I know this is going to work. I'm absolutely positive about it. That's what my experience has shown. I know I said a lot, and I just want to make sure I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Look, try it
Yeah,
out. Create an
yeah, the
Excel
biggest.
sheet, 1 through 7. Rate yourself before you take every trade. I'll bet you, whatever you want to bet, that you're going to come back and say, my best trades happen when I'm a 3 or a 4.
Mhm.
That's my bet.
One of the things that made the biggest difference in my trading, it was something very similar to that, where I actually recorded myself and I verbalized out loud while I was trading, recording my screen, talking about my emotions, and then I went back and replayed that, and it really got me plugged into what I was experiencing, and it was very similar to writing it down. I haven't done the writing it down or ranking it exercise, but I've done the verbal recording, etc.
Love it. Yeah, that's probably something we talked about, I'm guessing.
Yep.
So, John, you said it doesn't really seem to make sense to trade when you're uneasy about a trade. Yeah, I get it. That's why 95% of trading is not about what makes sense. That's why 95% of traders don't make it. Yeah, and then Shane says his best days are when he told himself he wasn't going to take a trade that day. So you're sort of off the hook. I have a friend of mine, really good options trader. His wife, she wasn't feeling super great. They went into the doctor and turned out she had colon cancer, like stage 4 colon cancer. And they were going to start her on chemo and radiation. And I think it was within a couple weeks. It might have not even been that long. She had passed away. She was like in her 50s. He was pretty devastated, as you can imagine. And I was talking with him a couple of months down the road from that happening. And I said, how have you been? And he said he's doing as well as a person could be expected to do given the circumstances. And he said the most interesting thing that he'd seen come out of it is that when all of that happened, he just said, I'm not gonna trade. I have a lot going on, and I'm just not gonna trade. I'm gonna put it to the side, and I'll come back to it whenever I come back to it. And he said that he just completely gave himself permission to not do any trading, and he found himself trading, and the best trading he's ever done in his entire life, because he just had full permission to not do any trading. Turned out it was the ideal environment to do the best trading of his life. I think that goes back to what Shane was referencing there. Jose asked a great question. He says he's been hovering around break even, slightly green for some months, but can't quite break out to really having big returns. So how would you approach that situation? So one, Jose, if you have not done the course that Jaime and I taught about how to track your stats, I don't know if Jaime's here, but I would bet just about anything that you were willing to bet that if you tracked your stats the right way, you would turn that around you could easily turn that into being profitable. The process is you go from losing money to losing a little less money to breaking even to making a little bit of money, making a little more money, making a little more money, making a little more money. And a little bit more money over time turns into making a lot of money. So how I would approach it is I would track my stats the right way. Now, I'm teaching a course that starts next week. That course is going to be included in it. But somebody like you who's already right there hovering around break even, if you have good rules, good risk management, you're not doing stupid stuff like dragging your stops out of the way and letting trades run hugely against you and averaging into, because I can guarantee you that's a disaster waiting to happen if you're doing that stuff. If you're not doing that stuff and you're following rules and you have a system and you have a plan and you just need to get from where you are right now to being more profitable, do the stats course. If you want more than that, do the course with me and you'll get the stats course included in it. That's not a pitch for the stats course. The stats course will take you from going where you are right now. 100% of the people that did the course increase their profitability. 100%. What we teach in the course works if you follow it. That's how I'd approach it. You're right there. You just need to know what levers and dials to tweak and turn to get to being consistently profitable and growing that. So somebody said, if you follow a system and you sit on your hands when you don't have a setup, when do you trade when you're not confident? Well, you don't. If you don't have a trade, if you don't have a signal or an entry or a setup or whatever you call it, something that says get into the market, you don't do anything if that's what your system is. But how many times do you get a signal or a setup and then you second guess it and you don't do that one? And that's the one that wins. Or you get the one and this one's going to be the one that's going to win. So you load up, you average in, you move your stop, and it doesn't work. So that's when that would come into play. Not when you're just sitting on your hands waiting for something. No, do nothing then. But when you do get the setup or you do get the signal, what do? How confident are you? Wouldn't somebody have an idea based on strategy or entry if a trade would work? Yeah. If you're tracking that kind of stuff, you should certainly know that you have a certain probability. I know traders who make 7 figures a year and have like a 35% win rate. That means 65% of the time they're losing, but the 35% of the time they're winning, they make a bunch of money. My current coach right now worked with a bunch of hedge fund guys, and that was his previous life. And he said they would go around and they'd do these audits of hedge funds, and these guys would make money like 40% of the time, and 60% of the time they would lose money. But when they made money, they made way more than what they were losing the 60% of the time. So yes, you should. See, that's all cognitive. Like, okay, I have an entry. The strategy says to get in here, and I know that I have a 60% chance of this trade working. Great. That's all cognitive. Now, do you ever second guess that now that you know that? That's where it comes back to, it's really about your ability to execute on it. Somebody says, could confidence come from you wanting, like the false sense of confidence coming from you wanting the market to do what you want, and then you only see what you want, and you miss the signs the market's going the other way? Yeah, or you might just have a pattern of that you're going to do it your way. I told my coach this today in our conversation. I said, whenever I find myself thinking that this trade could work, I know the trade's over. I had a trade like that today. I got short the NASDAQ. It sold off. It bounced. I got short. It stalled out. It sold off a little bit, stalled out. And I found myself sitting there at my computer and I thought, this trade could work. And then I just closed the trade, which I basically closed it at the bottom of the swing before it went back up. And why am I telling you that? Because as soon as I caught thinking, oh, this could work, I knew the trade was over. Now I'm hoping something's gonna work out for me instead of just trading what's right there. What had happened, what I saw happen is the market stalled, and I saw it stall really clearly. And then I thought, well, maybe it'll still work. Yeah, wrong strategy. Not going to work for me. That doesn't work. Yeah, and it is hard to do. You know, someone said it makes sense, but it sounds hard to do. It is hard to do. That's why you don't see a lot of ads in your news feed or whatever that are saying, here, come do this really hard thing. Yeah, Don says he turned his time frame to an hour and it completely turned him around. Yeah, Don, it probably helped slow things down a bit. You don't have so many signals. I mean, it would be like going from trading a 100 tick chart to a 10,000 tick chart. And it's like, wow, what a difference this gives me. You know, just a whole different look at the market. Do I trade with, like, do I leave runners on? Yeah, depends on the trade, depends on the day. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Just depends on the entry, depends on if I think I bought the bottom or sold the top, I'll leave something on. Sometimes I just think I'll get all out and get all back in. It totally depends on the day if I think there's something really to hold for. Let's talk about, this is the 3 pillars for mastery. Mindset and emotion, which we've talked a lot about, strategy and execution, and analysis and refining, which, Jose, that's really the thing that, I mean, and by the way, Jose, I don't know what products or whatever you have from us or don't have from us, but if you send an email to support@daytradelikeapro.com and just tell us who you are, they'll get that to me and give us your number and I'll call you and I'm happy to talk to you. Let's talk specifically about your situation. I'll tell you what I would do and what things I'd be looking at and how I'd approach it. So send us an email and I'm happy to talk that through with you. These are things I didn't think we were going to get to, but I wanted to have them in the event that we did get to. I love all the questions. Okay, so some of you know this. I am teaching a course. It starts next week. It's about being consistently profitable. It's a master class on how to become consistently profitable. The reason we created this is because I was having a conversation with our team and they said, do you want to teach a course or what do you want to do? And I said, the only way I will teach a course is if I can guarantee basically that people are going to be successful when they're done with the course. Now I'm teaching a course, so this is that course. If you follow what we're teaching here, it works. It's led by me. It's 12 sessions over 6 months. I'm going to go through this really fast. We covered it a couple weeks ago. It's going to be recorded. We'll send an email out about it. We're not going to let you forget to sign up. So I'm going to go through this. Most of you probably know about the course, but if you don't, I want to make sure that you do know about it. So at the end of the course, if you do all of the work, you will be consistently profitable if you do all the work. And you will have the 3 pillars for mastery that it takes to be consistently profitable: mindset and emotion, strategy and execution, analyzing and refining. So here's what you get. You get 12 90-minute live training sessions plus 6 months of prediction points. There's a course that I taught on how to build a strategy. Jaime and I taught a course on trade journal and statistics. You get a dedicated Discord channel, daily support. I'll be there. David will be there. There's 2 ways you can enroll. You can just pay one time. It's $49.97, or you can pay in installments. It's $19.97, and then 5 monthly payments of $1,000. Okay. So those are the 2 different ways. You can go sign up here. David, I think you'll put that link in the chat for them.
Yep.
daytradelikeapro.com/profitable-trader. Here's this part. If you enroll, when you enroll, these are the options that you'll receive after. So you can add MAP and Pro Suite. We did a webinar on MAP a while back. Pro Suite is our entire suite of indicators. You can add them for 50% off. It's normally $8,000 a year. You get 5 hours of MAP training. You get me every day breaking down the market. You also get prediction points and live trade signals for the year included in that price. And you can get it for half off. Live Pro Suite's usually $6,000 a year. You get the prediction point bias, the box, auto box, trade balance, backfill, key turns, and one price. You're going to get 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with me if you sign up for the course and you want to add Pro Suite and Map. I'm going to do 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with you. Okay, so we have people who say, we just want everything you have. We love what you're doing and we want everything that you have. Okay, take the course. You're going to get prediction points and live trade signals for a year. You're going to get market accelerated planning, that's MAP. You're going to get lifetime access to Pro Suite. You're going to get all of the courses that we have at Day Trade Like a Pro. You get the S&P Live Trade Room for an entire year. You get the target trading system premium for a year and full access to all training courses that we do the entire year that you're enrolled. They're usually about $1,000 each. If you were to go buy all these things and add them all up individually, and there's people on here that have paid these prices individually for these things, it'd be over $40,000. If you sign up, we didn't talk through this again, so I'm not sure how long this is going to last. This might not last at all. If you sign up in the next 7 days, I'll still honor this. I'll do 6 one-on. If you do the platinum package that we just talked about, I will do 6 one-on-one coaching sessions with you. And we can spread those out however you want. 1 a month, we can do 1 a week, we can do 1, 2, spread them out a bit, however you want to do that, okay? It's over a $6,000 value. It's $14,997. It's a ridiculous value. If you are serious about trading, if at the end of this, at the end of a year, you haven't turned yourself into a consistently profitable trader, I don't know what else we could possibly do for you. I mean, this is everything that we have that we could offer you. And it's a phenomenal value. So you can sign up offers.daytradelikeapro.com/platinum. David, anything that you want to add? I mean, I know this has kind of been your baby on working on this because you get a lot of requests from people who say, I just want to do everything, but I don't want to spend $45,000 for it.
I think a couple of things for the course to add that we talked about in the last webinar that we're going to add in probably 6 or so live trading sessions in addition to the courses. So we're going to spend time with the traders, either watching them trade, watching you trade, most likely a combination thereof, which I think is going to be hugely beneficial for that course. And I guess the other thing to add is if anyone has any questions or wants to have a conversation with myself or Ephraim about what's right for you, talk about your trading, reach out, just like Ephraim suggested Jose to reach out to support@daytradelikeapro.com. Anyone else should do that as well, and we'll make some time to get on the phone with you and chat with you and talk about your trading to see if we can get you to where you need to get to.
And some of you have done that, and you could speak out of experience that, I mean, we're about as low pressure as you could possibly get. If it's for you, that's great. If it's not for you, that's great too.
Yep.
We're not going to try and talk you into anything. You know what's right for you. If it's for you, that's great. And if it's not for you, that's great too. We respect that. We're just trying to do what we can do here to help traders. And I'm not going to pretend like $15,000 isn't a serious investment. Don't look at it like you're spending $15,000 in Day Trade Like a Pro. You're investing $15,000 in yourself. And I think it's a hell of a good deal. This is really designed for the few people that we think that it's, that say, yeah, that's for me. I would really encourage you to register for the course. You have my word that I'm not going to let you down. At a minimum, get yourself registered for the course. We're not going to let you down. And we're going to have some fun together.
Point too that what we've talked about is that if you put in the work over the 6 months of the course, and by the end of that 6 months you are not consistently profitable, we will continue to work with you to get you there.
Yeah, we're willing to take on the liability of that. We'll keep working with you. We know that what we do works. We know that if you'll put in the work, we can get you to being consistently profitable. We're demystifying what's been going on in the trading.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll leave you with is just my gratitude. Thank you for being here. I know that you have other things you could be doing today, and I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate you being here and giving your time and your attention. And I really hope that something here today made a difference for you and makes a difference in the way that you go approach the market. For those of you who have already registered for the course, and some of you have taken us up on the platinum offer that we did a couple weeks ago, thank you. You know that you have our full commitment to really getting you where you want to be as a trader. So thank you.
One last point, and Jaime brings this up, and I think it's a great point in that, and Ephraim, you can add to this, but what we're putting into this course is a lot of what you do with your one-on-one coaching clients. And, people like that are Jaime, Don, Ty, all the mostly highly successful traders that you guys see in the room. They've all gone through this on a one-on-one basis. And we've packaged all of that up into a small group course over 6 months. It works. We have traders where it's definitely worked.
I think that's the thing for me, is that the thing I'd really want to communicate is that we're not taking a shot in the dark and going, well, gee, I sure hope this works out. We're teaching something that we know works, and we know that we have a formula that will take somebody from point A to point B, and we know how to do that. We've done it. We've proven it. It's really just a matter of if you're willing to put in the work to get from point A to point B. That's really the only question. You're the only variable here. We're taking all the risk. We already know what we do works. We've proven it over and over and over again. You're the variable here. We don't know if you'll do the work. And we're willing to say, if you will do the work, we will make sure we get from point A to point B. That's a terrible sales pitch, isn't it? But that's the best I got. I'm not trying to, if anything, I'm trying to talk you out of trading. It's really difficult, and most people won't stick with it long enough to actually become successful at it. You could just quit while you're ahead. But if you refuse to do that, then do the course, so at least you can get to the other side.
Well, thanks, Ephraim. I think this was extremely valuable and helpful. I know I got value out of it as well. Just a reminder, if anyone has any questions, send an email to support@daytradelikeapro.com. Thank you for being such a great community. You guys are what makes this worthwhile. So really appreciate all of that and appreciate all your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.